G'day guys and welcome back today to the Freo Faithful YouTube channel for the OPPO View. We are previewing the St Kilda game and I have Jake from Saints TV. Jake, thanks for joining us, mate. How is life over at St Kilda land?
Thanks for having me, mate, on the show. Big game on Friday night, so I'm super excited. But to give you a brutally honest answer, it's not going that well in Saints land. It's we've felt every emotion in the last 6 weeks. 3 wins in a row. Flying, super confident. I'm getting the sunnies out and footy abroad and everyone's giving me shit. And now we've lost 3 games in a row, albeit to Giants, Brisbane and the Dogs, who have been pretty good teams over the last 6 weeks. So this, to me, is still a bit of a 50-50, despite your boys winning 4 of the last 5. So, big chance to get our season back on track.
Yeah, when you put it like that, Giants, Dogs, who have looked unreal, and Brizzy, like it's not all doom and gloom. And I don't think many people had massive hopes for you guys heading into this year. But how did you see the list and where do you see the Saints right now?
We had the potty earlier tonight and I kind of said that my expectations haven't really changed too much based on the results. I mean, our best is still very good, but the issue is, I guess, the gap between our best and worst is still incredibly... Like, it's stark. Like, our worst is, like, bottom 3 levels, you know? And you just... That, to me, bridging that gap is the key to making finals, because it's not... Our best isn't good enough. Our best is. It's just... We don't show it consistently enough. And we've been found out a little bit in the last 3 weeks playing some pretty stacked midfields, and there's no surprise that our midfield is a work in progress. It's in sort of rebuild mode, and... getting McRae and Filippo's been out a little bit with trialling Windy, Garcia through there. Naz is going through there a little bit more now. It's still not quite found that mix. So I think once we get that, we can hopefully get a bit more continuity. But I think it's going to be a good test on Friday. You've got a good midfield, so that'll test us. Yeah. But you're not one of the most explosive, high-scoring teams in the comp like a Brisbane. So I think... Even if you're on top, I'm hoping that we can control the game enough to be in with a chance. So, it's
speaking to that midfield battle. You're saying it's a work in progress. There's no real like bona fide A grader in your midfield, but and you got Jack McRae who's been doing. You know, he had a good start to the year, and then you had Hugo Garcia that you Saints fans have high hopes for. But he ended up getting subbed against Brisbane. Yep. How do you see the midfield battle going? What do you think the matchups will be on Friday night?
I think Sarong's obviously the most damaging midfielder you have. I think Brayshaw's excellent, and any team would be very, very happy to have him. I mean, obviously we were looking at him pretty hard, so that's well documented. But Sarong, I think, would be the one we would tag. I think we could probably put a head-to-head if Steele really does want to become or get back to his old self and you know, I guess put his body on the line for the team as a captain. Maybe head-to-head with Brayshaw could be interesting. Win Hagar to Sarong looks like the likely one. He's our main tagger in there. And then from there, McRae probably just goes with whoever else you throw through there. I don't think he's a tagger. He's just our number 1 ball pig. He's see ball, get ball extractor. And then Naz is kind of, I guess, the main point of difference that we've put through there the last 2 weeks. But Filippo's a chance this week. Toby Travalia, hopefully. Filippo's the big one. If he can play on Friday night, I think that that makes it a little bit more even in there, because he's probably our classiest midfielder, even though he's
been out all year, hasn't he?
Yeah, he hasn't played a game all year. He did train really well in the preseason before his injury, and supposedly he's done a bit of a mini preseason to get up. So... I think we've got the VFL bye this week, so I don't see any reason why he wouldn't play Friday night, considering we've got Carlton the next Friday night at the G. So if you're going to bring him in, I think this is the week, and then he can build into the Carlton game with Naz. So, it's the midfield's not going to change too much, to be honest, mate. Like, we just need players to lift. Ron Marshall needs to lift. Steele needs to lift. Sinks needs to lift. McRae needs to lift. He's been quiet after his... massive first 3 games. That's just... They've all got to just find some form, to be honest.
Yeah. So how confident are you that you can swing the form? Because you've had a few big losses in a row now. Yeah. the Ross Lyon sides, you know, we can relate to each other on this one. They're usually really well drilled, and I don't know, even at Freo, like we didn't have the most star-studded list, but you always knew you'd sort of get effort, intensity, and a strong defensive game. Do you think that in the last few weeks you've come away from that, or do you think it's just been the opposition that you're going up against? How do you see it, and do you think that you can swing it around in a week against Freo?
So part one of that is the teams that we've beaten, like namely Port and Geelong, to me are when we played them in that field of how Freo are going at the moment. Like Freo at their best are very good, but they're also still prone to some inconsistencies, particularly away from home. I mean, you did lose to Melbourne 2 weeks ago. I don't want to bring that back up. Obviously, that's very traumatic on your part. But we haven't lost to a shit team. We haven't lost to a Richmond, a North, a Melbourne. We've played Adelaide away, Giants away, Brisbane, and the Dogs who are flying. So we've copped a tough fixture, but Geelong and Port, to me, are in that realm of Freo where they're still prone to the odd shock loss. And I don't think we should, to be honest, have any fears of Fremantle. I think if we go into the game fearful, that's when we're most prone to losing. And I don't think I know you said Ross is kind of like a defensively minded coach, but I don't think he's ever been like that since his return to St Kilda. I know we've conceded 100 points in the last 3 weeks, but we're trying to take the game on. We're trying to make something happen.
He's not defensively minded anymore. He just concedes 100 a week now.
I know. Kick 100, Ross. Help us kick 100, mate. I think we're still trying to find that balance of attack versus defense, because I think the game in general, AFL, is becoming more of an attacking game, and it's a bit more of a shootout now. Like most teams are kicking over 100 points. Even losing teams are kicking 80 plus points most weeks, so I'd love to see the stats at the end of the year, but I think the average points for and against is going to be at an all-time high. And you look at the best teams like Brisbane, Collingwood, Geelong when they're on, and Sydney, and even the Gold Coast and Adelaide, they are high-scoring teams. You need to be kicking 15 plus goals a week. And I don't know if you can say that you're confident that Freo are in that point where they can kick 15 plus goals a week, against a good team. But I think if we can nullify, obviously, your main target, we all know who that is. He's a superstar. If we can nullify him and break even in the midfield.
Isaiah Dudley.
Hey? Yeah. I thought I was thinking, he's
Dudley.
A freak. He's a superstar. With our undersized sort of defense, although Dougal Howard is back, I think. We just need to nullify a couple of players and then lift on our own accord, and that kind of makes the game a bit more of a 50-50.
Yeah, our pressure was back in a big way against Adelaide. The pressure factor was ridiculous all day. And that was across the park from our small forwards, led by Andy Brayshaw in the middle. That's definitely a strength of our game at the moment. How do you think the Saints are going to buffer that? And overcome that? Because we have been an inconsistent team, but I feel like that win was a statement win against the Crows. We sort of turned the corner. So are you confident that this Saints side can stand up in that pressure and throw some punches back?
100%. The best way to stand up to pressure is to bring pressure. That's 100% the only way to do it. You don't back yourself into a corner. You don't play uncontested footy. You get stuck in. And the last 3 weeks, we haven't quite done that. Against Port, our average pressure gauge was 220 for the whole game, which is ridiculous. And that's away from home, with them having Butters back into the lineup and us winning one of the last 12 against that team in that venue. So we've overcome a few obstacles. At Marvel, we should be better suited to the quick deck. I think if we play a fast brand of football, that's probably where we can get Fremantle. I don't know if I'm right in thinking that you play a bit of an uncontested brand these days, or you do like to possess the ball a little bit more. But I think
we sort of have two modes at the moment. It's pretty much run from stoppage and use the ball by hand, or if we're hemmed in our back half, it's a lot of slow build up by foot. But that's pretty much it in a nutshell, really.
Yeah. So bring the heat and break the game open. We're getting sucked into contests too much. I think it's going to be interesting going from playing the Dogs and the Lions, who play a similar brand of football, to Freo, who obviously play a little bit differently, whether that suits us or not, because Geelong do like to when we played Geelong and even Port, they like to chip it around and have a high marking game, and that suited us a little bit more. So I don't know, if Freo bring that sort of style, whether that'll help us. But you got to win the ball first, and the last 2 weeks we've coughed up nearly 70 inside 50s and only had about 35 of our own. So if you're doing that against really anyone, you're probably going to get done. You know, even if it's against one of the lower teams, you give them enough chances, they're going to take them.
Yeah. Wow. Those inside 50 numbers are quite staggering.
Yeah.
You're not leaving yourself much chance to win at all.
No chance.
So looking at your list right now, the names that really pop out to me this season particularly are Jack Sinclair. You mentioned Isaiah Wanganeen Millera, who's pushed up into the midfield, but particularly that halfback area. I feel like in the past where the Saints have struggled, it's been times where Sinclair hasn't been in the team due to injury or hasn't been in form necessarily. But I feel like that's an area of strength for you guys for sure, and the run that Darcy Wilson, Brad Hill, those guys bring. You do have some really pacey ball users. Would you say that is a strength of you guys when you really get going offensively?
Yeah.
And speak to that.
100%. When we play our sort of rebound, I think when we're at our best, we're rebounding off halfback extremely quickly, and it's handball chains, it's up the wing, but then pulling off that kick into the guts, and that's usually the Sinclair and the Nasiah kicks to do. It's kind of their they've got the license to pull off those, I guess, game-changing kicks, high risk, high reward kicks. And we're still going for them a little bit, but teams are kind of congesting the midfield so much that we're sticking wide, and we don't have the Max King chop out mark on a wing to really break the game open. We've kind of just had Marshall, who's been struggling, and then it's a Mason Wood who's not playing this weekend due to concussion. So that undersized sort of team that we're fielding, it's not getting enough aerial power to get that mark and then have the Hill Naz Sinks running past. It's just constant congestion and stoppage. And because our midfield's been out of form, obviously the more repeat stoppages against the likes of Brizzy, Dogs, obviously Freo when they're on, that's going to favour those teams. But when the game's open and outside the contest, that's when we're at our best. So if the game's stoppage after stoppage and congestion, I back obviously your physicality, Brayshaw and Sarong to get to work. But if it can be quick and we can nab it in the contest but get it out immediately, that's when we're at our best.
Gotcha. We will have a handy inclusion. A bloke called Luke Jackson's coming back in this week. Yep. Plays pretty well at Marble.
What? Honestly, every week we play a team, they're getting someone back. Yeah, this is bullshit. We played Bont. We played we did play Bont. Him on his own beat us, but we got the Dogs. They bring Bont back. We get Port. They bring Butters back. We get Freo. They bring Jackson back. Is Fev's going to come in next week against Carlton? Mate. And we lose players. So this curse, mate, I'm getting sick of it.
Well, you were just talking to you were saying Marshall needs to lift, and I was thinking we got Dogger back this week, and Darcy's sort of slowly growing. Tracy can be a bit of it. So I don't know, that's obviously an area that we're going to have to try beat you guys at in the air. A guy that has been really good for us this year, and I knew the Saints were massive on, you guys were sort of linked to Murphy Reid a lot last year in the draft. Yep. I thought you guys would have taken him. How have your young stars been this year? I know Travaglia. I don't even know if that's how you say his name. Travaglia. Yeah, he's come into the side. But how are your younger players looking? Darcy Wilson, I feel like he's been in the league for 5 years with the skill that he has, even though it's his second year. But what's your young crop of players looking like, and who can we look out for on Friday night? I
think Darcy Wilson needs to lift, to be honest, on my end. I think I have high expectations for him, and he hasn't quite met them yet. It's obviously, he's been in the system only a handful of years, or less than that. But he's going to be hopefully a superstar for us. But Toby's had his moments. He had to work for them. Boxshaw's one in the VFL that's been absolutely monstering in the midfield and getting. He literally looks like Jack Steele. He tackles hard. He wins the ball. He's a big boy. He played in the practice game against Carlton and fended off Cripper and kicked a goal. This kid can play, but we haven't seen him yet. But I think everyone would be stunned if he didn't debut on Friday night. So having him and Filippo. Obviously, Filippo hasn't played, but he's our best youngster. Mitch Owens has been excellent. And he's not a youngster, but Jack Higgins is, second in the Coleman somehow. So he's going to be a handful for whoever goes on him. But Toby, no one's, jumping, like, oh my God, they're amazing. But that's not the process we're at. We're trying to get games into kids and help them grow, and obviously be competitive at the same time and have that balance of senior and the youth. And sometimes it's been exploited against the more seasoned teams. And then when we get a bit of energy about us, Max Hall, even Lance Collard, they look excellent. Isaac Keeler, Caminiti down back. Yeah. I don't know if it's ever been publicised, but we are one of the youngest teams in the comp. I'm saying that sarcastically, but because it has been publicised a million times. But we've got some youngsters there. They impressed me in moments, and other moments they need plenty. Obviously, they like Garcia. He had a reality check with Ross on the bench and was subbed off, and could well miss the game on Friday if Ross really thinks that he needs to learn something. But that's the journey we're on. Some weeks it's going to look excellent and everything's going to click, and then other weeks you need to get to work.
Yeah, for sure. I do like Keeler a lot. I watched him a fair bit during his draft year, and when he was playing amongst players his own age, he looked like a men against boys out there. So he's a really good pickup for you guys. Collard, WA boy, got plenty of flair in that front half, plenty of speed. So you do have a lot of young players, but given what you've said to me tonight, Jakey boy, I am growing in confidence heading into this game. You never want to get too far ahead of yourself in footy, because it can come back to bite you on the ass quick. Last year when we played you, we beat you at Marvel. It was a bit of a crappy game.
A bit of a crap, mate. That was shit. It was a bit of a stink
fest, wasn't it? Yeah, we were inaccurate in front of goal all day. Like, I feel like we kicked like triple the amount of points as goals. It was silly, but give us a prediction for this game. How do you see it going? Give us a tip.
I think it's a 50-50. I think the fact that it's a Marvel, and I'm still not convinced Freo travel well enough. I mean, I know you travel to Geelong and somehow win there all the time, like it's your second home ground. But
we got pumped there this year.
Yeah, that was a shock to me. I expected you to win in round one, but I still, you're still at that point where I'm not entirely convinced by Freo away from home, and I think we're not going. I think it's hard to gauge us because of the opposition we've played. They've been we're genuinely playing teams that are, the reigning premier. The Dogs were probably third most informed team in the comp. Giants, who just have probably the most talented list in the league, and then Adelaide away is always going to pump a lot of teams. So hard to gauge. I'm going to go Saints by 11 in a pretty low-scoring dour affair. It's reminiscent to last year, but hopefully we can get the job done. We certainly need to. We're 3-4. The season is still alive. A lot of Sainers, I think, can jump the gun and think the season's over because of, losing by 45 points to the reigning premier. But if we have our moments, we can put on a score pretty quickly. We can be pretty hard to play against when we're up and about. So it's up to Freo to kind of take the crowd out of it and start well. So should be an exciting game, mate. I'm pumped for it. If we lose it though, don't look at my channel. Don't look at the review. It's going to be ugly.
I definitely do. That's one of my guilty pleasures, is to hop on a fan channel after they've lost.
That's sick. I can't say I do the same, but.
Oh, you can't say you've never been on Blue Abroad after a loss.
I go on Big Footy and read the comments, but I never go and watch reviews and shit.
Well, you've never been on Blue Abroad after a loss?
Nah.
After a Carlton loss? Nah. Oh, mate. What a treat.
Nah.
Such a treat. I'll give a prediction.
Yeah.
I think the Dockers are going to display a mature performance. Saying that, we are also a young side. I think we've fielded one of the youngest lists in the comp this year.
Yeah.
I think we're top 3 youngest, but 5th or 6th for games played, something like that. I say we're going to get the win by 5 goals. The Tools get the job done. Jackson, Tracy have a bit of a field day. I think Shea Bolton, I don't know if you have an answer for him, and he's been in some great form as well.
Yeah,
so
Shea Bolton, that's going to be... He's rotating through midfield and forward, I assume?
Yeah, him and Hayden Young, they're pretty dangerous players.
They are. But you did lose to Melbourne, so any team that loses to Melbourne is, as Pommy would say, on fraud watch. And to me, beating Adelaide at home is great. Would you beat them at Adelaide Oval? Probably not. So, to me, Freo in that 5 to 10 realm for me still. still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair play. Well,
This is
yeah,
going to
like
bite
you
me
said,
in the ass. I can feel it. You're going to win by 10
well,
goals.
you were saying like you lost to the Dogs, we beat the Dogs. You lost to the Crows, you beat the Crows. But footy doesn't work like that.
We also,
like,
yeah, I know. It's, but would we lose to Melbourne? I mean, God, hope not.
When do you play them?
I don't know, but there's going to be a lot of clips to come from this interview. I can feel it.
Yeah, I don't know. Try not to get too emotionally invested these days, me, because it can come back to bite you on the arse. But no, we have fun here. Thanks for joining me, Jake. Go check out Saints TV for all your Saints needs. If you ever do want to suss a St Kilda fan's opinion, I always say that fan channels are the best way to get the true opinion of what's going on at the club. So thanks for joining me tonight, Jakey boy. Where can we find you? And all that good stuff.
Yep, thanks for having me. And you can find me on YouTube, Saints TV Pod, Facebook, Saints TV, Saints TV Pod on Instagram. And we've also got the Saints TV podcast on Apple, Spotify, any streaming platform you can find.
Beautiful. Appreciate you joining me. Good luck on Friday night.
No worries. You too, mate. Thanks.